Again, welcome to CS 102, Introduction to Programming Using Java. In this lab work, we are going to learn how to write again user-defined classes, which is we are going to write our own class. This lab work covers chapter 4 of our course textbook. So our main objective is to write two programs using two different classes. Now, in our previous lectures, which is chapter 3, we went through how to use Java API, the application program interface, which consists of a lot of library files. And we have a class such as math class, string class. And now we are going to learn how to write again our own class. So let's look at the first problem. Here they say we should write a class called Bob that represents a light bulb. And this light bulb can be turned on or off. We're also going to create a driver class. Normally, a driver class is where our main method is. So that's where the execution will take place at. And this driver class name will be called lights. And its main method will instantiate and also turn on some Bob objects. So our class name is Bob. So we start with the keyword public and class. As we mentioned in the lectures, anytime we are creating our own class, we start with the keyword public, then class. Then the name of the class is Bob. In this class, based on the question, we need only one instance variable or the characteristics to be only one. As we mentioned in lectures, every class consists of characteristics or attributes of it, and also the behavior, which will be the method. The characteristics will be our data or the instance variables. So here we have only on. The name on here is the name of the instance variable, because based on the question, we can assign true or false to it. True means the bulb is on, false means the bulb is off. So the data type is Boolean. Next, we have our special method we call the constructor. The constructor normally will initialize an object when we are creating it. So this is a default constructor because we have nothing in the argument. So we initialize our constructor, our private Boolean on, the variable on, to false. So this means anytime we create a new object, the light will be off because we assign false to on. So that's why we have set up this Bob object with the light off. Next, we have a variable, we have a method name is on. The method is on, we turn our light on. So again, this method will return on. Here we say to return true if this bulb is currently on. Then we have again another method called a set on. So it will set on status of this bulb. So we assign the status. The status can be, again, it's Boolean type, so it can be on or off. Then we have a special method we mentioned in the lectures, to string. Now, to string method, it returns the string representation of this bulb or any object we have. So here, when we, again, to string will be called anytime we call the system.out.println. Then automatically to string will be called. And this will be the format of the output. Bob on, then the status, whether it's on or off. So that will be, again, our class name Bob. Now we are going to the driver class, which we have where we have our main method. So again, according to the question, the name of the class should be lights. So we have public class lights. Normally, our first class, which is the Bob class, we cannot run it. We can compile it, but we don't even need to compile it because execution will take place in the main method. So the Bob class is just a template of the, or I'll say the blueprint of the Bob type. So execution normally will take place here. So for example, we have our main method. The first thing we do is to create some objects. And we can see that the object type is Bob. So we are creating 3 Bob objects which is B1, B2, and B3. And we can see that we are calling the constructor. So if these three objects, Bob objects, are created, initially they will be off because our constructor will set the instance variable on to off. So first thing we did is to print an output. So we say system.out.println is B2 on. Then we have the B2 dot, and the only way we can check if it's on, we call our method is on to check. So it will return true if it's on, it will return false if it's off. Then next we set our status of the B2 and B1 to true, which means again, they will be on. Then we print B1, B2, and B3. Now the main goal of this example is to understand the concept of writing our main class, our own class, and also how we can create again objects in the, always we're going to create the objects in the main method or the main class, because this is where the execution will take place at. So our previous slide, this is just the template or the class for Bob. So as we said in the lectures, always a class consists of variables and methods, which will be the characteristics of the Bob, and also the behavior of the Bob is the method. So let's look at the next one. Here they say we should write a class called dog that contains instance data. And this data represent the dog's name and age. So this class will have two instance variables. Next, we are going to define the dog constructor to accept and also initialize the instance data. So this constructor will initialize the dog name and age. This time we are going to include the getter and setters methods for the name and age. Now we mentioned these methods in our lectures. In our first example, Bob class, we didn't use it, but normally a getter method will return the status or the content of the instant variables. If we want to know it, then we use the getter method. The setter method will set again the instant variables for us in case we want to change it to other values. So that's why here they say we should include a getter and setter method for the name and also the age. Now, since we have we have two instant variables, we are going to have two getters and also two setters. Next, we are going to include a method to compute and also return the age of the dog in person years. So this will be 7 times the dog's age. So that will be a person years. So the formula is given. Then next, we're also going to include a toString method that returns one-line description of the dog. Then we create a driver class called Kennel, whose main method will instantiate or create the dog objects. Here it's going to create several dog objects. So it's up to us. We may have 2, 3, or any amount we want. So the first thing here is to get create the dog class. This will be the template of the dog class. So we start with our keyword again. We have public class and the name of the class dog. Based on the question, we have two instance variables. So we have the name, data type is string, and also the age, data type is int. Now, most of the time, by convention, we always like our instant variables to be private because we said in the lectures, private for security. Now, if we have more than one class or many element components in the program, they cannot directly access the instant variable name and age because they are private. And by convention, we like to make our method public so that in case maybe other classes or other elements in the program want to use it, or they can directly access it. So here we have again our constructor dog. This time we have a constructor with arguments. Sometimes we use the term the full constructor. So we can initialize it to name init and also age init. So we can see that we are initialize again the name init and age init to the instant variables name and age. This will allow us, anytime we create a dog, we can give the dog any name we want, any age we want. But when we have a default constructor with no argument, whatever we initialize it in the body of the constructor method, that will be the only thing it can have. Next, we have our first accessor. This will return the name of the dog. So the returning type of the method is string, and it will return the name, only one line. Then the same thing applied to the mutator. It will set the name. So the argument will be name update. And we know the name type is string. So here we are going to assign the name update. We assign to the instant variable name. This means if we call the set name, we are going to include the name as argument for the object. Then next we have the age accessor. So here we return the age. And now we have the age mutator. We set the age. Age data type is int. So here we set the age update assigned to age. Then according to the question, we have a person years. A person years means the dog age times 7. So we compute and return this dog's age in person years, which will be the dog age times 7. So we return it to the person years method. Then next we have our toString method, which again return the string representation of this dog. According to the question, we should have one sentences line to describe the dog name, age, and person years. So we can see the format here. We have dog, the name of the dog, age, we enter the age, then person years, we enter the years. So if we run this program, whatever we create, so for example, this is the main method. The question didn't tell us how many dog objects we should create. So we decided to have 4 dogs. So we have dog 1, dog 2, dog 3, dog 4. Now remember the constructor here is a constructor with the argument. So you can see we can have different names and different age. Then what we did, we just print each dog content. Now when we call the system.out.println, it's going to automatically call the toString method. So the format will look in that form. Next, we set the object D3. We set the age, which means we are going to change the age. Now we change the age by adding 1. So what we did is that we say D3 dot get age. Now if we look at D3, the age is 7. So we add 1 to it. So this time it will be 8. Then also we print D3.getName. So we print the name. And here we say you are now D3.personYears. So we print the age of the dog also. So again, this is the main basic concept in Java classes. In this case, we say user-defined classes, how to write our own class. And we should have the concept of the lectures. Always a class consists of 2 things. The instant variables, which is the characteristics of the object, and also the behavior, which will be the method. So this dog, the instant variables are the name and age. So those are the 2 characteristics. Now it depends on the problem you are solving. A dog can have more than 2 characteristics. If it can have a weight, etc. So again, wish everybody the best, and we see you in the class. Thank you.